What is going on, neighborhood youth? We hope that you guys are doing well, and we are hoping to see you. Whoops. We are hoping to see you hop on, whether it be on Facebook Live, on YouTube Live, or on Zoom. So if you're with us, throw something up in the comments just so we can see that you are here. We're trying a slightly different platform this evening. So for us to know that you're here and with us, you need to throw something up in the chat or join Zoom because there's no one on Zoom but me. And it's lonely.
One is the loneliest number.
Yeah. Yeah. Two can be as sad as one.
But it's, oh. All right. I thought I could keep it going, but I failed.
Yeah. Well, welcome for anyone who may not know, but hopefully you all know us. I am Tim. This is Linnea. And this is
Andrew.
Drew.
You're to my, yeah, everything's backwards. I'm not cut out for this technology.
So.
Whoa. So many options.
That way. Yeah, it pops a little bit. Pops. So.
Anything better than last week, technology-wise. I mean, really. Yeah. If you were with us last week, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was a curse.
So we've got someone with us, Landon. Landon hopped on and is saying hello. Hey, Landon, it's great to see you on and joining us. Thank you so much. Why don't we kick off with some peaks and puddles as we normally do. Landon, do you, it is the Landon, Andrew, Tim, and Linnea show. And we would love for you to kick off. So if you, again, just in the chat, if you want to throw up your peak and puddle, we're excited to see that and see how things are going. Anyone else care to share peak and puddle of the week?
Oh, well, mine are sad. I'm going to say Liam, his nails grow real fast, and so he's become a little bit of Scarface.
Yeah.
So my puddle he looks like he got into a fight.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
But my peak was that we were finally able to get his nails trimmed today.
Yep.
So pathetic.
While he was taking
more complicated than people might think.
You gotta wait till they're napping.
Yeah.
You really do.
Yeah.
They're worse than animals.
I don't know. Hudson's pretty bad.
Hudson needs his nails trimmed too.
Yeah.
On par with.
Yeah. But Andrew, what about you?
Oh, today was beautiful. We spent a lot of time outside today. So that was good. We got to do, my oldest daughter, who is 6 now, got up to her next belt in karate. So we had to drive through with her karate teacher set up a little drive-through thing at the JCC in Rockville so she could get her next belt and do the full promotion ceremony. And it was weird and adorable at the same time.
Did she hold her hand out the window like this and you just drove really fast? And
she got to get out of the car, which was good. So she and Miriam got out of the car and they did the whole face-to-face and I don't know anything about karate, clearly. So they got to do it kind of at a distance from her teachers, and I watched from the car. So that was a peak.
Yeah.
I just feel like the world is a puddle, and I feel like I have no right to say that it's emotionally exhausting, but it is, and feeling pain for everyone.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are just feeling a little spent this weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, pain is universally felt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah. So, and at least the county was definitely a puddle on Friday because we had some major storms and there was some major flooding while I was working. So we had to close off a whole bunch of roads and Landon shared with us on YouTube that his peak is he got to eat out for the first time in a while, which is awesome, and no puddle. Landon, we'd like to know where you ate out and what you had.
And why we weren't invited.
Also, all three, please post that next so we can see. We'd love to know the answers to all those. So for me, it has puddle. It's been just kind of a rough week, kind of similar to what Andrew. Similar to what Andrew was sharing. Just it's kind of been an emotional roller coaster of a week, and with everything going on, and but the peak is not to be super cheesy with it, but it is super genuine. My peak is I've firsthand experienced the love of God, and it goes very, very smoothly with what we're talking about tonight. And so I am excited to dive into that a bit and talk about that some more. But so yeah, things have been a little rough here and there, but I'm thankful that we have a God who is loving and loves us all no matter what. So yeah. Landon, we still haven't seen where you ate, what you ate, and why we weren't invited.
It's a very long answer.
Yeah, just I hope you know we're holding your feet to the flame, and we're hoping for those answers. So, but I apologize for my absence last week, but we are excited to hop in this week, and things are going to be a little different going forward. Normally, Neighborhood Youth is normally we take our summer break for the month of August, and we let you all have a break and enjoy yourselves, and then we do our awesome fall kickoff. Neighborhood Youth is going to be taking an extended summer break this year, just because we know of all the chaos that is going on, and we could all use a little extra rest or a little extra just time for fun, time to get outside, time to do stuff. We are also going to be looking towards once the county reopens in certain fashions, we want to have events where we can get together, do bonfires, stuff like that. And so we are very, very anxious. But tonight is the last night before our summer break. So we are, it is a bittersweet evening. We are excited for the break and excited for a little extra time, but at the same time, we really miss you guys. And it's been hard enough not being in person, and so it's going to be even harder not hopping online and trying to connect in this way. So we did get our answer from Landon. So he had a burger and fries with chips and cheese.
What is it like?
I reserve for a follow-up, but keep going.
Yeah, wait, so you had fries and chips, or was it chips and cheese on the burger? Lemonade and bread. So was the lemonade on the bread? This is a very confusing restaurant. Oh, is that the name of the restaurant? Lemonade and bread? I've heard about it, but I haven't been there myself. So and apparently we just missed his invite. He sent it a week ago. Pretty sad we didn't show up. So that is our bad. That is definitely on us for not paying attention. We also are hearing from, I'm guessing this is Luke, but his school is out for the summer. Puddle it doesn't feel much.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. You know, it's really weird to think about, like when you just mentioned fall kickoff, now that the weather's really warm again, in both a mental way and a sensory way, I literally feel like just last week I was filling all those water balloons.
Oh, yeah.
Like it literally feels like it was very recently that we did the last fall kickoff, and my brain can't process that we're now talking about the next one.
Right.
It's weird.
They were hard to fill up and not pop. So,
yes.
Yeah.
I'm also just not very competent at it. That wasn't helpful either.
Yeah. But we're excited. Plans for not next year. This year's fall kickoff will be in the works shortly, and we got to top last year because we've been doing that every year. We've been trying to top it. So some fun things are in the works, and we're excited for it. So I hope you guys are excited and looking forward to it. We are definitely excited to be back in person as soon as the county lets us. So, yep, we miss your faces, all of them, both of them, currently.
We confirm that there's only one Neely associated with the Landon login.
I believe so. He's been commenting just as them. But yeah, without further, you shared your peak and puddle.
Yep.
Andrew, you did. I did. We got Luke and Landon. I think that's it. All right. I think this is probably a fantastic time to jump into this week's lesson and what we're talking about. I know it's an extension of last week's, and so Andrew, how does it? Tell us what we're talking about. Catch us up from last week. Give us an intro for this week.
Sure. So, last week, between starts and false starts and camera seizures and whatever else happened, we were talking about the love of God really in the context of some of the Old Testament scriptures, right? So if anyone, is anybody on the Zoom that can answer us, or good, we'll just keep going. So the word we use to describe it and where it came from, which I would ordinarily phrase as a question, is ahava, right? And so that's an ancient Hebrew word. And it comes out of a very important, not the word itself, but the concept comes out of a very important prayer that Jews have prayed for many, many centuries, right? Twice a day, morning and night. And it's this passage in Deuteronomy. And the words are, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your strength. And so we started off talking about the Jews' obligation to love God, right? And we talked a little bit about what that means. And then there's also the element of God's love for us. And a little later on in Deuteronomy, this concept of ahava comes up again, and that God showed affection for you, and he chose you because of his love, because of his ahava for you. Or in Jeremiah, another of the Old Testament prophets, I have loved you with an everlasting ahava, an everlasting love. So how did God demonstrate this love to his people throughout the Old Testament? And we have a Bible's worth of stories to show that, right? So the whole Exodus story, right? Bringing the Jews out of bondage in Egypt is a huge example of how God showed his ahava. But it's complex, right? Because we talked about the fear that can be part of this love. In Deuteronomy 10, we get, what does the Lord your God ask of you except to fear the Lord your God? We talked a lot about how that kind of jives, right? What does it mean to love and fear something at the same time? To walk in his ways, to love and to serve him. What does it mean to love something and to serve something at the same time, and to keep his commands? And all of these are centered around this concept of love, right? And we are called, even in the Old Testament scriptures, to imitate God's ahava for us by showing ahava to others, right? So we talked a lot last week about this concept that's known widely in our society today as the golden rule, right? We should aspire to treat others how we ourselves would want to be treated. And so this week we're going to pivot a little bit, and we're going to fast forward into the New Testament to the time of Jesus, actually a little bit after Jesus' crucifixion. And still we find it's difficult in many ways to put into words God's love for us, right? So after Jesus lived, after he was crucified, and after he ascended into heaven, some of his followers actually had to invent words to describe this, right? Like the words in the languages they were using at the time, as we'll see in a second, didn't really exist in the Aramaic and the Greek. So we're going to watch a quick video on this, on what is called agape love. And you hear about this frequently in connection with describing the love of Jesus for us, and then we'll come back around to talk about it.
Yeah. And before we do that, we had someone join us on Zoom.
Yes!
We've got sweet lights.
Oh, I bet I know who that is.
It's Eric. What's going on, my man?
Nothing.
I like your lights. That's pretty sweet. Yeah. Have you been watching us on YouTube or Facebook? Well, hop on one because we're about to play a video. I want you to be able to see it. So if you're able, hop on either Facebook Live or YouTube Live and search Neighborhood Church, and it'll pop up so you can watch this video. But before we do that, we want to hear Peaks and Puddles. And are you in Canada? Oh, it looks like you're wearing a hat with a hood and covering up your face, and he's got the
Did you say Canada?
He's got the grandmother camera view of like it's just this corner. Hey!
Oh, come on.
Where it's mostly
Yep.
it's mostly ceiling.
Oh, so we're doing like this.
Oh, grandma view.
Yeah, there you go.
And you get the scope.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is
We want to hear from you. So what is going on? What are some peaks and puddles? Yeah, nice. His older brother got home.
been really boring.
Puddle is it's been really boring.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. But you are
My senior parade that happened this morning.
you missed it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, but you're a 2020 grad, right? So that's exciting. That is exciting. All right. Well, if you are able, hop on to either Facebook or YouTube, and we are gonna show this video real quick. Maybe.
So, if you've heard of Jesus, you probably know about one of his famous teachings called the Golden Rule. Do to others what you would want them to do to you. And this, actually, is a restatement of something else that Jesus said, that the meaning of life is to love God and love your neighbor as yourself. Now, that's really beautiful, but what does he mean exactly by the word love? It's an unclear word in English, because you can love your mom and you can love pizza. And if the word love means the same thing in both of those cases, your mom's going to feel real bad. So what did Jesus mean in his language? Well, first of all, this love your neighbor phrase is a quotation from the Hebrew scriptures, where the word for love is ahava. However, the language Jesus spoke and taught in from day to day was a cousin language of Hebrew, that is Aramaic, in which the word for love is rachma. But then, as Jesus' followers spread his teachings around the world, they translated them into Greek, using the word agape. But here's what's fascinating. The earliest followers of Jesus, who wrote the books of the New Testament in Greek, they didn't learn the meaning of agape by looking it up in ancient dictionaries. Rather, they looked to the teachings of Jesus and the story of his life to redefine their very concept of love. So one time, Jesus was asked about the most important command in the Jewish scriptures. And he first quoted from the ancient prayer in the Torah called the Shema. Love the Lord your God with all of your heart. So love for God is the most important thing. But then Jesus quickly followed up by saying another command from the Torah was also the most important, to love your neighbor as yourself. So which is the most important, loving God or loving your neighbor? Jesus' answer is yes. To ask the question means you don't get his point. For Jesus, they are two sides of the same coin. Your love for God will be expressed by your love for people, and vice versa. They're inseparable. And so this makes it clear that for Jesus, agape love is not primarily a feeling for someone else that happens to you, like our phrase, I fell in love. For Jesus, love is action. It's a choice that you make to seek the well-being of people other than yourself. Jesus also went on to teach that genuine love for God and others means seeking people's well-being without expecting anything in return, especially from people who are in difficult situations, who can't repay you even if they wanted to. According to Jesus, this kind of generous love reflects the very heartbeat of God. And he took this even further. Jesus said that the ultimate standard of authentic love is how well you treat the person that you can't stand. Or in his words, you shall love your enemy and do good to them, expecting nothing in return. For Jesus, this kind of enemy-embracing love imitates the very character of God himself. Now, we wouldn't be talking about Jesus still today if he had only said things like love your enemy. This is how he actually lived. Jesus was constantly helping and serving the people around him in very practical and tangible ways. And he consistently moved towards poor and hurting people who couldn't benefit him in return. He showed love for the forgotten ones, the people who usually fall through the cracks. And when Jesus eventually marched into Jerusalem, he made himself an enemy of the leaders of his people by accusing them of hypocrisy and corruption. But then instead of attacking his enemies to overthrow them, he allowed them to kill him. Jesus died for the selfishness and corruption of his enemies because he loved them. After Easter morning, Jesus and then his followers claimed that it was the power of God's love for the world that was revealed in Jesus' life, death, and resurrection. As the Apostle Paul put it, God demonstrated his own agape for us in this: while we were still sinners, the Messiah died for us. Or in the words of the Apostle John, God's own agape was revealed when he sent his one and only Son into the world so that through him we could have life. And for John, then, this leads naturally to the conclusion, beloved ones, if that's how God has loved us, then we ought to show love for one another. So Christian faith involves trusting that at the center of the universe is a being overflowing with love for his world, which means that the purpose of human existence is to receive this love that has come to us in Jesus and then to give it back out to others, creating an ecosystem of others-focused, self-giving love. And that's the New Testament meaning of agape love. Hey, thanks for watching this word study video by the Bible.
All right. What did you guys think? Sorry, I jumped on it.
No.
Yeah.
What do those guys think?
Eric, were you able to watch the video? Did it come up? No, he's lying. What do you think?
Did you watch it?
Come on, I'm the only one on Zoom. This is kind of embarrassing.
Why is it embarrassing? You wanted to hang out with us. We're excited that you're here.
Look, one viewer, that's probably
No.
All right. Excuse me. All right. Looks like Matthew has joined us and decided to let us know. He's,
I mean, that's a good thing to declare.
right,
I'm glad I know that now.
right.
Yeah.
Well, Andrew, what do you think about the video?
Yeah, I mean, so look, if you are, and if you didn't see last week's video, it's another Bible Project video, and you can just search Ahava, and it'll actually probably come up if you watch that video as one of the suggested other videos, right? Because this all ties in together. So there were a couple things that overlapped, right, from last week, but what's different about it is that we're seeing it now kind of in the context of how Jesus fulfills a lot of God's promises in this way, right? So that through Jesus's life, while he was living, while he was ministering on this earth, and then of course through his death and his resurrection, God showed the ultimate agape love, and you know, this one focuses a little bit more kind of on the concept of, and at the end, I love it, this others focused love. Right, an ecosystem of others-focused love, and what more do we really need in this world right now than that?
That really goes along too with Landon's comment he just put up. He said, "I think I can definitely apply loving the people you hate or think of as annoying while expecting nothing in return more to my life," which is awesome because that is tough. That is not an easy task to accomplish, and but I think one of the hardest parts of that is that first step of being able to even see that and acknowledge that. So as something, you know, needing or lacking in your life and wanting to apply it more. So.
And I will say, you know, as someone who grew up not knowing Jesus and coming to faith later, in life after, you know, my teenage years and adolescence and young adulthood, right? One of the things that I noticed most about myself since accepting Jesus is this really supernatural ability to recognize that, right? Because I think the old me, you know, the me that has died and gone away, right, thankfully, was an extremely bitter and vindictive and grudge-holding person, right? And so it's one of the things when you accept Jesus into your heart is allowing that kind of agape love for others to be a primary motivation in what it is that you do, and showing, right, this is how we show God's love through our own interactions here, right? And Jen talked a little bit about that this morning in her message, a lot about that, as it turns out. And so that's one to go back and watch. But Tim, like what you said, right? I mean, there's that passage. Well, I mean, they mentioned it in the video, but it's many places in the Bible, right? But they mentioned Romans 5, while we were still sinners, Jesus died for us, and that's exactly right. I mean, it helps you kind of put into context that any person on this planet doesn't deserve this, right? And so when we're thinking about giving love and showing love to people who annoy us or we don't like or otherwise we think don't deserve it, just think how hard. I mean, it puts it all kind of into a context, right? That Jesus did this for every single person, and did it freely, right? I mean, we have this, we can avail ourselves of this love freely, and that's a pretty magnificent thing.
I think my biggest takeaway from this video, and I know Tim and I have been talking about it a lot this week, is just it's a choice, right? You know, there is feeling with love, but sometimes it's not always warm and fuzzy, cozy feelings, and you have a choice every day, you know, to love and choose God or not. I think that was my biggest takeaway, and just like that idea of, I think we talked about this a few weeks. Maybe I mentioned this before about like, you can't spread love if we're only loving the people who love us back. We're essentially just containing it.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard work and difficult to love those who we don't want to love, but that's the only way God's love can spread.
It's the opposite of a pandemic.
Yeah.
It is more difficult to spread that kind of love. Linnea, do you feel like I mean, you can think about it in a couple ways, right? You can think about that in the context of specific relationships, right? Like marriages or very close friendships or relationships with, you know, your parents or siblings or whoever. And then you can also think about that, like, I'm going to get up and decide to love those people. And then there's also, I can get up and love every single person I come into contact with today. And the latter is what's a little more overwhelming for me. As overwhelming as the former can be in many ways, especially like everybody has bad days, right? But the latter is really kind of the intimidating thing.
I remember, I'm trying to think, I think this was in high school. I don't know, it's kind of sad that it didn't dawn on me until high school, but just kind of what I was saying before, there doesn't necessarily need to be like this overwhelming, warm, fuzzy feeling towards people. But like the video saying, what is our action? What's our attitude towards an individual that our natural instinct is to hate or dislike. I mean, you know, I think I remember feeling guilty of like, well, you know, I'm trying to love these people, but I don't necessarily feel like saying warm and fuzzy, but like warm and fuzzy towards them. But then it must have been one of my youth leaders just kind of said like, it's like almost impossible to have that feeling towards everyone.
Yeah. So. And I mean, even going back to what Landon said of loving while expecting nothing in return. I think that's huge, you know, for both groups that you're talking about, Andrew, of, you know, family members, stuff like that, and then everyone. Even with our family members, there are times that we can love them expecting something in return, whether it be that same love or whether it be something physical or whatever it might be. But the idea to love someone with nothing in return, or even to give to them whatever it may be, your time, services, finances, you know, anything, and to expect nothing in return, that takes intention, intentionality, and humility. Yeah, and it's not easy because your desire to have something in return can be very subtle. And not realize it, but to really look at your heart and
And if you're you know, if it is all about, and I think broader in our society, especially in Western culture, that in love feeling, especially when it comes to romantic relationships, right, is what is actually sought after, not the commitment part, right? So, you know, I think we're always going to be setting ourselves up to be disappointed if we're pursuing relationships, romantic relationships, friendships, whatever, expecting those kind of butterfly, you know, head over heels, warm and fuzzies, to keep using the phrase, because that's not it, right? And I think part of the reason why, you know, in our society, unfortunately, the divorce rate is so high, is because, you know, people feel like their relationships expire, and if you don't have that warm and fuzziness, you know, perpetuating after X number of years, then it must be broken. And not to say that there are not cases where that is certainly true, and there are other things going on. But if that is our expectation as a people, to pursue relationships, we will never be fulfilled in that. Yeah.
Luke says his mom says, good point, Linnea. So thanks, Mel.
The thing that from towards the beginning, which I want to highlight again, I think is, and I like how they did it graphically, was the kind of the inability to disentangle the concepts of loving God, and loving our neighbor. Bless you.
Sorry.
Salud. And you know, I kind of want to turn it around to the crowd, to talk about that, because right, they make a pretty blunt point in the video, right, that you're missing the point if you think that those two things can be carried out separately, are not deeply deeply intertwined. So if I don't know if people have had experiences where they felt like they felt the connection between those two things, you know, especially to Landon's point, as it relates to maybe loving people who we might consider our enemies or who we might not consider to be our best friends, and how you felt the love of God through that.
Eric, did you hear the question? Did it come across clearly? And put you on. You want to rephrase it one more time?
Rephrase it. How do we feel like the connection between loving other people and loving God is so? Ooh, did I start the question with the word connected? We can't finish it that way then. How are those two things? How are those two things? Why are those two things so deeply connected?
So between loving people and loving God. No, between loving people and loving God, why do you think, or why do you feel those things are connected?
Hey.
Trey just joined us. Welcome.
Yo.
Trey, the question floating out there right now is, why do you think we're talking about love again, and we're talking about this idea of agape love, and why do you feel like the love we have for other people and the love we have for God are connected? Why or how are they connected?
Bless you.
I think Eric gave up. He muted himself.
Something to think about, though, right? I mean, I think, look, it is hard not to think when you look at the news, about how in this country, we can do so much better at this. I think even in our daily lives, we don't think about this enough. And you see the buildup of that over weeks and months and years and centuries, right? Like since before the establishment of this country, injustices have been perpetrated by people in control. And had this kind of line of thinking, we would like to hope, been more prevalent, you might wonder if the outcome would have been as horrifying as what we're seeing now. And so there's a lot of talk about, what to do moving forward. And I think again, Pastor Mark's sermon and his conversation with Nikki last week and Jen's message this morning gave us a lot to think about and to actually put into action. But this should be at the front of our minds, I think.
I think it's tremendously convicting. I think I'll speak for myself. It's very easy to compartmentalize love for God and love for people. And then when I stop and realize, or when God helps me realize, every single human being made in the image of God. I can't love God and not love others. I mean, there's, I know there's been many times I've convicted my heart on that. Especially just every single human being has value, made in the image of God, is loved by God. And I'm blanking on the reference, but Jesus said, whatever you've done for the least of these, you've done for me. I'm paraphrasing that. So I think, conviction, I think, is definitely the word that comes to my mind when I think about how loving God and loving people are one and the same.
Well, real quickly, we had someone else join us on Facebook. Damien is here with us. He did say he apologized because he was cooking dinner. And I said it better be something good. And he made barbecue ribs with rice and mashed potatoes and salad. So,
and I would repeat my question.
Where was the invite?
Hi.
I guess everyone has COVID as like an excuse.
I am happy to stand 6 feet away from those ribs and just have them.
Not you?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not proud, right? I mean.
Well.
Yeah. Okay. Destroyed. That's a very strong.
Right. It should be. Barbecue rib sounds delicious.
Yeah, it really does.
Well, I think that's a testament to cooking.
Yeah. Nice. All right. Well, for those of us who are on and listening, we want to hear from you. Hear some last thoughts, final thoughts on agape love, what it means, what it looks like to us individually, together as a group, as a nation. What are ways that we can show it? What are ways that we can see it? So, if you guys have anything, this is the time to speak up. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your thoughts, and we're opening it up. Open up the table. We'll let the conversation begin.
Before I get my answer, I just want to know what agape love is.
Ooh, he did join us late. There was a video. We'll send you the link to it. But Andrew, do you want to take this over while I get the link to him?
Surely. So really, the thing that the video highlights is that in the time shortly after Jesus' death, the kind of the religious scholars of the time actually could not find a word in Greek in particular to really describe the love of Jesus, right? And so they basically invented this word. And it's agape, meaning kind of the highest form of love in the specific context of a relationship between God and a person, and between a person and God. And so it's really deeply rooted, this kind of pure sacrificial and intentional, as we've been talking about it, as a decision less than a feeling. Of love, that God decided in sending Jesus to the cross for us to display that love, and we can too, in His image, decide to love our fellow people. So that's the Cliff Notes.
Matthew also looked up the
Okay.
for but the official definition, it's a Greco-Christian term referring to love, the highest form of love, charity, and the love of God for man and of man for God. And then I believe this is still Damien, but it says, so agape love is the love of God. And I can see that when I am feeling a deep sense of love from God, and my prayers are answered by Him in a reassuring way. That's great.
Yeah, I just want to go back to Trey.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I came on to that, like, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
And the first thing that came to mind was, well, before God and Jesus came, love was just the idea. It was not like, there was no like true love in the world. Jesus came down and He loved everyone and everything. And it was just like a more powerful love than anything before or anything after could ever reach. And the love we have for people, especially myself, I find loving others and loving God. Though I can't match God's love for everyone, I still have a part of that in me where I'm loving. I find good in everyone and find the love in my heart forever.
Yeah.
So it's like a part of that agape love in me. It's not full, but it's a part of it.
Yeah. That's great.
I like that point of the good.
Yeah.
Because I think the annoying or the downright hatred, evil things that we can do
Right.
very easily trump. But I like that point, Trey, of just trying to like just narrow in and focus on the good and
yeah, even in situations like what we're all experiencing now with like the racism things, the feuding, even with COVID, there's still good to be found within it. It's bringing people together to fight a cause that should have been dealt with. It's bringing families together with this social distancing. And a lot more people are realizing that this needs to be handled.
And it's, I like, Trey, what you said about, prior and after, how Jesus changed this concept, right? And this word was really invented to describe it, but it's what people were waiting for in a Messiah, right? They were waiting for someone to have that. Oh, that's adorable. Waiting for someone to have that level of love, which words in the language at the time could not even have described. to come and save them. Right, and that Jesus fulfilled that, and they needed to invent a word to describe it. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah. That would be pretty sweet to be able to do something that they need to invent a word on what you just did.
There's a couple things I can do, like if you take me to an In-N-Out burger, there's probably a word for that hasn't been invented yet, which no one needs to. Thank you, Landon.
Was that Landon or was that Mark?
That's Landon.
Wow.
Oh,
On it. It's only gonna get worse, buddy.
Yeah.
That's just time.
you guys can't see it. Andrew is rocking a sweet, I'm not sure what.
Little tiny ponytail.
Yeah.
It's yes.
Ponytail.
It's if you are a fan of the original Grinch, like the original cartoon, we call this my Cindy Lou Who spout.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keeps it out of the eyes.
That's fantastic. That's right. Yeah.
And professionally, I can just do this, the reverse grandma, and you don't even have to know it's there. So this will be me at work tomorrow.
Oh man. Well, excellent. Huh? Yep, everyone just flips up the hair a little bit,
Not you.
getting something different.
I like
Eric
the
showing off
braids.
his hair. Yeah. Trey's got some sweet braids. I've got the same haircut I've had since.
Should be, no, you're born. No, I was gonna say your peak should have been. You went.
Yeah, I went to
His
my
wife
barber.
did not cut his hair.
Oh.
Really done.
Yeah.
So it's by appointment now? Is that what we have to do?
Yep. And Trey, just so you know, Damien says hi. This is
I have Stevie, and I have like almost everyone else, but the months since I've really been in contact.
yeah. We're trying to find ways, and hopefully the county's going to open up a little bit soon. We don't have any idea of exact time, but hopefully it comes, and we can have like a bonfire, have a get together, and be able to see one another again. We're really looking forward to that time. So, but we want to give one last opportunity to anyone else who's on any of the platforms, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or Zoom. If there's anything you want to say, I'm going to make the announcement again, just in case it wasn't seen or heard this morning or at the beginning of our evening tonight. But normally, Neighborhood Youth takes our summer break in the month of August. But with everything going on, we are taking it a little bit early. So we are, I'm answering that right now, my man Damien. We are taking an early summer break in the hopes that we can encourage everyone to just get outside, connect with neighbors, connect with friends in ways that you can. And we are hoping that shortly, we will be able to get together again and get together for a bonfire. We are starting to plan our fall kickoff, and so we are excited about that, and hope that we have to top last year's, and last year's was pretty awesome. So we're excited for it. We're looking forward to it. But just because we may not be getting together Sunday nights virtually doesn't mean things can't. It doesn't mean we still can't connect. So if you guys still want to connect, I can create a like a Zoom chat room or something like that where a bunch of people can get on, and you guys can simply just hang out, connect with one another, catch up, see how things are going. But in order to do that, I need to hear from you guys. So You can message me on Facebook. You can post things on the Facebook Neighborhood Youth Facebook group, Neighborhood Youth Instagram. Yeah, Damien had a good suggestion. We can play 6 feet apart tag.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Damien, you're gonna be it first, and I'm sorry to give it away, bud, but you're gonna lose. You're just always gonna be it. So, yeah, that's pretty good. Get a beanbag and just throw it at each other. So
The other thing too, just in terms of like, in terms of just resources. I mean, you guys know we use Bible Project, and then we've utilized Reboot a lot. I have just put both of those links on the Neighborhood Youth page on the church website. So I mean, they've just got tons and tons and tons and tons of videos. So definitely check those out. Say it again.
didn't know the church had a website.
What?
Man. Well, this is good. We're getting the word out there because yes, that's a great point. And again, just because we may stop virtually meeting just for a little bit, doesn't mean we're going to stop throwing content your way. So keep an eye out on the church website, which is neighborhoodc.org. Neighborhoodc.org.
Those page views.
Yeah. And you will also see stuff on Instagram and Facebook, copies of links to different videos and different talks and prayers and stuff like that. So content is still coming your way. We'd love to do a virtual get together if that's something you're interested in, but in order to do that, we need to hear from you guys. So on that note, yeah, call, text, carrier pigeon, whatever you need to do to connect with us, get it done. We can do it. We'd love to hear from you. So with that, do you have anything? Andrew, do you have anything? All right. Anyone else out there? Zillow. Yeah. All right. Well, we thank you guys so much. I know it has been rough. It has been rough going through this time, not being able to be together. But those of you who have been able to join us, you guys are champs. You guys are troopers, and we really appreciate it. And I copied down. You can't see it, but it's there. There's a glare. Oh, you could kind of see it right there. What's the names? I copied down everyone who is able to join us for this last one. And you guys are going to be getting something special coming your way. So thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I know it has been tough, but you guys have really pushed through. A lot of you we see every week, and it's awesome to see you still want to be connected. And it's breaking my heart a little bit not being able to be in person. And so we hope that, you know, God's healing power and mercy comes down on this earth, which He has the ability to do, and wipes this thing clean, so we can get back together. So, Andrew, if I can ask, would you mind praying for us as we conclude the night?
Let's do it. All right, let's pray. Father God, we thank you for the time that we get to spend together apart. God, we do acknowledge that this has been an extremely challenging end to this school year, God, and we just ask for your mercy, and that come the best fall kickoff ever upcoming, that we would have the opportunity to be together again with as few restrictions as are safely possible, God. We thank you for Tim and Linnea. We thank you for Matthew. We thank you for Kyle and Tara and Christian, and all of the other folks who have worked over this past year to make all of our gatherings, the in-person ones that we used to do, and these new virtual ones happen, God. We thank you for the fellowship that we've shared. We thank you for the peaks and puddles we've shared. We thank you for the prayers that we've shared. And we thank you for bringing us closer to each other and closer to you through all of that. We ask your blessing upon this space, virtual, and we lift this all up to you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right, everyone, we thank you. We hope you guys have, oh, sure, Gabby, Gina, and Alex just came to watch right after I make a certain announcement.
Bye.
Hello. So, we hope that you guys have a great rest of the night. Enjoy a couple weeks off and look forward to an awesome fall kickoff. And again, any input that you guys have, if you want to see certain stuff, like me sneeze,
Bless you.
4 opportunities tonight. 4 to see live sneezing. So, but any input that you guys have, post it, email us, call us, text us, all that good stuff. So we hope you guys have a great night and a great couple weeks, and we will see you in the fall. See you guys.
Peace.